It's December 5th, 1945. The Second World War has just ended. The world is breathing a sigh of relief. And on this day, 5 American military planes take off for what should have been a totally routine training flight. And instead, they flew straight into a mystery that we're still talking about today. 27. That's how many men were lost in a single afternoon. They just vanished from the sky. No wreckage, no survivors, and really no good answers. I think this one single haunting sentence just captures it all, doesn't it? The absolute finality of the loss. So to understand how this could even happen, we have to go back to the beginning of that day. All right, so let's get into it. The wild thing about the story of Flight 19 is that it doesn't begin with some huge disaster. It starts with the completely mundane, a mission these pilots had done time and time again. I mean, just look at the flight plan here. It was totally straightforward. A simple 2-hour navigation exercise out over the Atlantic. They were supposed to be back for dinner. It was just another day at the office. But before we get any deeper into the mystery of what happened, I think it's really crucial to remember who this happened to. This wasn't just a flight number. It was a group of real people with lives and families waiting for them back home. The whole flight was led by this guy, Lieutenant Charles Taylor. He was a seasoned, decorated, confident pilot. And with him were 13 student aviators. You know, young guys just getting their careers started. They climbed into their planes that afternoon thinking it was just another training run, with no idea what was waiting for them. And then, about an hour and a half into the flight, something goes terribly, terribly wrong. The whole tone of the radio transmissions just shifts from totally routine to confused, and then you can hear the alarm setting in. This was the first message from Lieutenant Taylor that made everyone on the ground go, wait, what? He sounded unsure. And you have to remember, this is 1945. There's no GPS, you're flying with magnetic compasses and what you can see out the window. For him to think he was over the Florida Keys was a massive, an almost unthinkable navigational error. And this is where the mystery really gets deep, because flight trackers later figured out that Taylor was almost exactly where he was supposed to be, right there near the Bahamas. And yet, this seasoned pilot was totally convinced he was 100 miles off course. So the question becomes, what could possibly disorient a veteran aviator so completely? This quote, for me, is maybe the most chilling part of the entire incident. Even the ocean looks strange. What does that even mean? What could he have possibly seen out there that would make the Atlantic Ocean itself look alien to a man who'd spent thousands of hours flying over it? So as the sun began to set, the situation just went from bad to worse, really fast. That window for them to get back safely was closing, and the transmissions from the planes got more and more desperate. They were really facing a perfect storm of problems. They were lost, and they were burning through fuel fast. The weather was turning violent with these huge waves. And on top of all that, this bizarre radio static kept cutting them off from their only lifeline, the folks back at the airbase. And this was the last known transmission from Flight 19. Even in what he must have known were his final moments, Lieutenant Taylor's focus was on his men. His plan was to stick together no matter what came next. After that final faint message just faded out, there was only silence. 5 planes and all 14 crew members were just gone. The Navy launched one of the biggest peacetime searches in history. They covered 380,000 square miles of ocean, but the tragedy wasn't over. One of the rescue planes they sent out, a TBM Mariner seaplane with 13 men on board, it also vanished. A ship nearby reported seeing a flash of fire in the sky, so in one single afternoon, 27 men were lost without a trace. The disappearance of Flight 19 didn't just become a military mystery. It became a cultural phenomenon, forever branding this stretch of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, while there were stories of strange disappearances in this area before, Flight 19 really became the cornerstone legend of what we now call the Bermuda Triangle. It just had all the elements of a perfect modern myth. You've got brave heroes, advanced technology failing them, and this enemy you can't see or fight. It basically turned a geographic location into a global obsession. And this really gets to the heart of the debate that still goes on today. On one hand, you have the skeptics. They argue that this is a super busy area of the ocean, and statistically speaking, accidents are going to happen. And that's a fair point.
But, on the other hand, just looking at the statistics doesn't explain the deeply weird details of this case. Why would a veteran pilot get so lost in broad daylight? What caused that strange radio interference? And maybe the biggest question of all, how do 5 multi-ton aircraft just vanish without ever leaving a single trace of wreckage?
So, after the huge search was called off and the story became a legend, what did the official investigation actually conclude? Well, the answer is just as unsettling as the event itself. I mean, think about that for a second. The most advanced naval power on the planet, fresh off winning a world war, investigated this with all of their resources, and they officially concluded that they had no idea what happened. Causes or reasons unknown. It's just stunning. Over the decades, people have thrown out all kinds of theories. A massive navigational error combined with the pilot getting disoriented. That seems likely, but it doesn't explain everything. A simultaneous mechanical failure across 5 planes is almost statistically impossible. The truth is, no single theory gives us a complete, satisfying answer for all the bizarre things that happened that day. And at the heart of all this mystery is just this immense human tragedy. For the families of those 27 men, there was never any closure. There was no final resting place to visit. There was just this huge void left by their loved ones who went to work one morning and just never came home. Decades later, the fate of Flight 19 is still one of aviation's most profound and enduring mysteries. The answer, if one even exists at all, is lying somewhere in the deep, silent waters of the Atlantic.